Today, I want to talk with you about an issue that's critical for the world, but essential for the survival of small states like those in the Caribbean. The issue is climate change. For far too long, small states have been looking to the world's richest nations, those responsible for the majority of greenhouse gas emissions, to take responsibility for their actions. But let's face it, the evidence shows that this is simply not happening, while conditions are worsening. The time for pleading has passed. It's time for the Caribbean to take bold collective action. Let me share a rare moment of honesty on this issue from Angela Merkel, the respected former Chancellor of Germany. In her recently published memoir, Freedom, she doesn't hold back. She admits that the measures taken by wealthy, high-emitting nations like hers are simply not good enough to save the world. She even confesses that leaders have known this for years, but have failed to take meaningful action. Merkel poses a haunting question. Are we humans truly willing and able to act on the warnings of credible experts to take necessary, timely decisions for our survival? Here's her conclusion. There's no evidence that we are, not in Germany, not anywhere. And she says this knowledge weighs heavily on her. To underscore her point, the US Space Organization, NASA, recently reported that global sea levels are rising as a result of human-caused global warming, with recent rates being unprecedented over the past 2,500 plus years. This sobering reality means that Caribbean countries are more rapidly losing precious coastal areas, and the pace of islands drowning is increasing. So, what does this mean for us? It simply means we cannot sit around waiting for the conscience of governments of wealthy nations to save us. They are constrained by the influence of powerful fossil fuel producers or locked into high greenhouse gas emissions to stay competitive with their rival nations. We, on the other hand, have no time to lose. Small states are facing hurricanes that are stronger and more frequent. Entire economies are wiped out in a single storm, leaving us deeper in debt as we try to rebuild. Insurance premiums have skyrocketed, becoming unaffordable for many. Businesses, especially small and medium-sized ones, are often not rebuilt. Then there's sea level rise. Projections show that by the year 2100, that's only 75 years from now, sea levels could rise by up to 1.4 meters. For low-lying islands, this is a death sentence. Coastal erosion is also destroying the tourism industry, which for many countries is their economic lifeblood. And here's the kicker. The Caribbean countries contribute less than 1% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. Yet Caribbean countries bear some of the heaviest burdens. And what about the money? Climate financing is supposed to help victim countries like the Caribbean deal with the crisis. Is that right? Well, no, it's wrong. Take the Loss and Damage Fund. It's a step forward for sure, but the numbers tell a very grim story. Initial pledges to this fund are about $700 million for all developing and vulnerable small states in the world. Sounds like a lot though, huh? Well, it's nowhere near the trillions needed globally to address climate-induced loss and damage. Without a significant increase in funding, this fund is just a symbolic gesture. And Caribbean countries need to say this, and they need to say it loudly. What's worse, much of this financing seems to be loans, not grants. Think about it. Small states are being forced to borrow money from the very big nations that are causing the damage to repair the damage that they are causing to those small countries. So they damage the small countries and then get paid high interest rates for money they lend to those small countries in order to rebuild the damage that they, the big ones, cause. Where is the justice in that? Let's not forget how hard it is to even access these funds. The bureaucratic red tape is endless. Delays in disbursement and overly complex requirements means that when disaster strikes, the help doesn't arrive in time and doesn't arrive for years. If the loss and damage fund is to work, its processes must be simplified, transparent, and fair. The Caribbean must push for this. So, what do? We act together. First, we must build resilience at home. That means strengthening national building codes and ensuring compliance with tax incentives or penalties granted to private sector organizations. Public infrastructure must be built to withstand extreme weather, focusing on long-term durability. Second, we need greater regional collaboration. The Caribbean must better coordinate and fund disaster preparedness, renewable energy projects, and climate adaptation strategies to share resources and expertise. Third, we must advocate for climate justice worldwide. Legal mechanisms are one way forward, and we should take those legal mechanisms seriously. The advisory opinion obtained by the Commission of Small Island States, COSIS, from the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea last 2 years ago is a major milestone. Strong submissions last December to the International Court of Justice are another vital step. But opinions aren't enough. We need enforceable actions. The Caribbean should actively and vigorously work to establish a coalition of like-minded nations from the Pacific, Africa, Asia, and Central America. This coalition should then hold large emitting countries to book. They and their companies, which are accountable, should be taken to the international courts. This isn't about vengeance, it's about survival. It's about protecting human rights. Angela Merkel's reflections remind us that even the most well-intentioned leaders in wealthy nations are constrained by political survival. That's why small states cannot rely on the conscience of those leaders of the big countries to satisfy our needs. We must chart our own course and chart it collectively. In 2025, climate change and global warming must dominate every small state's agenda, both domestically and internationally. Our leaders must focus on actionable solutions while continuing to demand justice from those responsible for this crisis. Because if we fail, future generations will face unthinkable catastrophe. And what will they say about us? I suspect they will say, "What in the hell were they thinking?" Thank you very much for listening.